So we've got a bit of a problem. We ain't got no dirt. Well, that's not exactly true. We do have plenty of dirt, but what we don't have a lot of is this packed mud. And what I would like to accomplish this episode, and you can see I've done a little bit more work here on the base, but what I would like to accomplish this episode is to cover the rest of our area in packed mud. That way we can start adding more terrain on top and start doing some pretty cool stuff with some structures. Like I've been saving this little rock here, this little rock formation. I think we'll do something over here at some point. But I don't want to do any of that yet until we get the packed mud in place. So to help with our packed mud problem, I have already gone ahead and I've built 16 of these little modules here. And we're doing a pretty good job of collecting wheat. You know, everything gets crafted into hay bales, sorted into a shulker box, and then everything makes its way into this barrel here. I've already collected a few shulker boxes of hay bales, so we are doing pretty good on the wheat. But to help with the rest of our mud problem, we are going to be building a dirt farm. Yep, we're going to be dirt farmers today. So since there isn't much else to do, we are just going to jump into a time lapse and get some farms built. The first farm that we are working on is the azalea farm, and it looks a little bit like a moss farm, but it's not quite the same. We are just skimming the stuff off the top because all we need are the azalea. And then we're going to take all that azalea and go over here to the rooted dirt farm, and we're going to be manually placing the azalea. It's not a completely automatic system. There is some manual work that needs to be done. And then the final farm that we need to build is the bone meal farm to keep the other farms supplied. This is the Chromos farm designed by Monica, and you can find this design over on the Archivist Discord server. So before I designed this rooted dirt farm, I was actually working on a completely automatic system, but that ended up being really slow. It was also very flammable, which wasn't really good since I was considering building that farm over in my single player. I didn't want a flammable farm, so I decided to go with a semi-manual system, which meant we had to design this azalea farm. And even though this looks a lot like a regular moss farm, all it's doing is flushing the stuff off the top of the moss, and everything makes its way around over here. Eventually, we'll get like a shulker box loader system over here. That way I can take shulker boxes worth of azalea and go over there and load up the system. But since this farm isn't producing its own bone meal, we had to go and build an external system. And this design was designed by Monica. And you can find it over on the Archivist Discord server. I will also have a link to the video in the description. But I figured, let's turn these things on. Like, this is a very simple clock, just a Etho Hopper clock, and it's really good. It's like a constant flow of this stuff. Now, this wasn't very intentional, but we are also collecting the seeds, which we will be using in our terrain as well. So, yeah, this ended up being a good decision. Yeah, it's a really good farm. It'll definitely keep up with our needs over here. Let's put this stuff away. But I figured, let's go grab some bone meal since this has been working. Yeah, we already have lots and lots of bone meal, so let's put some stuff away, actually. Put all that away. Let me grab an empty shulker. There we go. Then we're going to go over here, and I think I have to manually stock up some of the early bone meal. Yeah. Alright, so we have a couple things we have to do here. We have our bone meal. I think let's just do that. That should load it up into the dispenser here. Alright. And there's a button missing. Let me go get that. Alright, I got the button. I think once I've pressed that button... Nope, well, that didn't work. Let's try that again. I think that was correct. It should have worked, but something was out. Nope. Well, after some technical difficulties, I think we got it working. And now what we got to do, grab some of these azalea that we got here. So we don't have like shulker boxes worth of this stuff yet, so we're just going to throw this into here, make sure everything's good. We're going to grab one of these, and after we get the things turned on, we're just going to stare at that moss block there, and we're just going to spam, right? Spam right click. So turn that on. Yep, sounds good. Should be some TNT. Yep. We're just gonna aim at that moss block. Something's broken. That's not right. Alright, I think I figured it out. There's a single piece of redstone missing right there. And that's the thing that activates this this piston extender. So everything should be working now. So I think we can actually try to do an actual test here. Close that. Put some of this extra stuff away. We'll grab one and we'll turn it on. Look at the moss there. Just hold right click. Seems pretty consistent. Doing a pretty good job, but I think, yeah, it's going to take us forever to get all the dirt that we would need for all the packed mud. So, yeah, this farm isn't going to be good enough, so we got to figure something else out. So, I think what we're going to be doing instead is just taking a lot of that mud that we've been collecting and using this mud maker system that I designed last season for the clay farm. Now, all we would have to do is just load up the dirt into this chest here, shulker boxes worth of dirt, and then we would take one of those shulker boxes, place it into this air gap here to initialize the system. And then it's going to start unloading dirt into this dropper, and we would just grab a piece and then start placing dirt. Pretty nice system, pretty compact too. But I think what we'll do is take that system and just place it over here. No, attach it to the current rooted dirt farm and just kind of feed the mud into the blast chamber over here. All we would have to do is just turn the farm on. It's not going to do anything over here, but it will activate the TNT duper over there. So I am just a little worried that we might be a little too close to that TNT and we may not have the space for it, but we'll figure something out. And now we've got plenty of the materials that we need to make the packed mud. We've got 2 shulker boxes worth of hay bales, and this, I think, is enough to make 18 shulker boxes worth of packed mud. So yeah, we're pretty good off there. And then a few shulker boxes of mud. This should get us started. I don't know if it'll be enough, but we should be able to get started with that. But for all the rooted dirt that we've been farming, I think we'll be using a lot of this stuff in the roads that we will be building throughout the base. But we can probably sell some of it at some point. And then we have so many of these oak logs, and yeah, we'll probably sell this stuff too. But I think, I need a furnace array at some point, and oak logs are pretty good at making charcoal, so we'll probably do that at some point. But before we make our way back over to the base, you probably noticed I've got a couple new things around here. I've set the trading hall back up, and we've got about 36 librarians over here selling books. And then over here, we are buying emeralds with iron. But yeah, we got plenty of emeralds and plenty of iron. And then back here, I have a cobblestone farm, and this thing is pretty cool. It's pretty good. We've got plenty of shulker boxes worth of cobble. We also have plenty of cobble over at the base, so yeah, pretty good. But the reason this farm is really cool is because it's using Andalite as a clock. So we are using entity tick damage, and so every time this guy takes damage, it sets off the calibrated skulk sensors, and then it powers the pistons. And I figured we could probably demonstrate how this farm is working. So it just places a water source down, and eventually this guy will start taking drowning damage, and it looks like it's already working. Yeah. It's a really cool system, and in creative, I realized that this farm could expand pretty much exponentially. So this little farm is doing about 32 cobblestone per layer. I set up a design that does 256 cobblestone per layer, and I think I can expand it even further than that. The redstone gets a little harder when it comes to the dupers, but yeah, I think it's possible. We've also been working on wrapping up the base here, and as you can see, I have some more exterior elements to it. Some of the sci-fi stuff that I wanted to add, or the techie stuff. And over here, we've got a solar panel, and we're just using a shield and a banner pattern with an armor stand. And so, yeah, that's probably my favorite part. Yeah. We also have some light fixtures and some other details just around the exterior. And up there, you probably saw earlier during the intro that have added like an awning space, and there's like a hole in the roof with some other stuff up there. That's pretty cool. It's pretty handy to like look out over the base up there. Yeah, but probably the most important part is getting the interior done. So we added some other elements in here with windows and paintings and shelves for like plants and stuff. We put a roof in. What else? We finally got our stuff moved in, so everything is nice and tidy, and you can see all the dirt that I took to make the mud. But yeah, now that we've got all the mud over here, grab all that, grab the hay, and I think it's time we start working on making some of this packed mud so we can start wrapping up the base here. Well, I am done. I'm out of mud. I just don't have enough to really cover the rest of the area, but I think we did make some substantial progress over here. I know there isn't much to look at. It's pretty plain, but the plan is to take some of the terrain that we've been working on over there and just kind of apply it over here. I think we'll do something a little different. But while I was building the terrain, I was trying to keep in mind the topographic maps, and I think everything came out looking a little bit realistic, which I think was the goal. It's looking pretty good. But as I was building this, I left a little gap here because, well, it felt natural to do. And it created a separation between this area and the base over there. And I thought maybe the best way to connect it up was through a bridge. So we'll be adding a bridge just across the ravine here. I think will be pretty cool. Yeah, my plans are to build something over here, maybe build something off of the cliff or the rock structure here. I think it'll be pretty cool if we have something tall, something here. But I do need a furnace array, so we might start considering what things we can build over here instead of over at the industrial district. And a furnace array, I think, would be a really, really cool idea. But at this point, I think we're done working on this project. I'll work on it in the background, maybe during streams and stuff. But next episode, I want to start working on things for the server, like opening up permanent shops, not just pop-ups. And I have started working on a road system that runs from Nats through my base and over to spawn. So I do want to try to get that wrapped up too. And before we start wrapping up the episode, I do want to showcase the automatic rooted dirt farm I was working on. So to best showcase this, I'm just going to turn it on and let it run for a moment. Yeah, as you can see, not much is happening. So we have these stone generators that push stone into place, and some moss that is where is it? Oh, there it is. We have that moss there that's getting spammed with bone meal, and occasionally we will get some moss here with an azalea on top. These dispensers will bone meal the azalea, and these double piston extenders pull things out of the way and down. Well, this farm actually has a few problems. That lava there, that is pretty dangerous. It will catch the moss that generates here on fire, and then as you can see, a lot of this farm is built out of logs, so it will just burn. It will eventually burn down the farm. But yeah, it's also producing a lot more stone than we are getting of like the rooted dirt and the logs there. So this farm, it just, yeah, it just didn't end up working. Today, we became dirt farmers, and I still have a lot of mud to make. Next episode, we are going to be building some shops and maybe working on some infrastructure for the server, which I think is going to be really cool. I do want to apologize for the delay in uploads. I was gone for a few days, and I just got knocked out of my routine, and it was a little hard to get back into it, but we're back, and I'm a dirt farmer, yep. But if you enjoyed this episode, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. See ya.